What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, that guy mile high, to the back in front of the reaction. This time we got one of the audits. Shout out to that channel, man. They be doing some crazy videos, doing some nice little breakdowns and stuff, and giving us some of the little legal mumbo jumbo that none of us really understand, but trying to give it to us in layman terms, at least, that, you know, in a way that we can understand. But before we jump into that video, man, we gotta give a big shout out to all the members. You know, that's just what we do around here before we start off any video. So let's go ahead and do that. Keith, Christy, Funny Farm, Manly, Misty Summers, Sniper, Trey 420, Driver Thoughts, Ryan Parks, Kara, Marie, Carrie, Mr. Pay It Forward, Happy Chick, Epic Service, Lynn Willow, Holograph, Taylor, Hollowboy, Marla, Diesel, Nick, Creatively Insane, Nicole, Aaron, Mama Dukes, Robin Lynn, I don't know why I said Ryan Lynn, Robin Lynn, Amy Jane Doe, Liz Nugget, My Hood Life, and Gary Willis. Whew, that was a very rough one. It's a lot of y'all. But shout out to all the members of the channel, man. If you guys want to get a shout out just like they did in all the videos, the lives, take advantage of some perks, think about hitting that join button down below. And if anything, just do it the free 99 way. Subscribe, hit the bell notification, and make sure that you just get, notified when all the content drops and you come and show up and turn out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, man, let's go ahead and jump into this video. We got Audit the Audit. Hold on. Let's go ahead. There we go. So we get the little disclaimer in there. Audit the Audit. Fake cop tries to intimidate real cop, but gets fired and charged instead. So, yeah, let's see. Let's go. There's a disclaimer. This is not any sort of legal advice.
Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers obstruction, standards of proof, and correctional officers, and is brought to us by Real World Police's channel. Be sure to check out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. Before we dive into the interaction, I want to give a big thanks to the sponsor of this episode, Babble. The summer months... All
right. We shout out to all your sponsorships. But we ain't sponsored.
On June 11, 2018, Deputy Duriel Aiken of the Pasco County Sheriff's Office detained Dr. Catherine Coker for allegedly running a stop sign near her home in Wesley Chapel, Florida. Because of the proximity of the stop sign to her house, Dr. Coker arrived home before Deputy Aiken could initiate a traffic stop, and he parked his cruiser on the street and approached her after she had parked in her driveway and exited her vehicle.
So I'm actually doing a traffic stop now.
Why?
I'm back there. Yes, you did.
We didn't.
Yes, you did. Can I have your license, driver's license, proof of registration?
You have a video.
I don't need a video. I saw you do it.
No, you need a video.
No, I don't. I saw you do it.
We'll be going to court because you did not see me do it.
Okay, you say so.
Okay, I do say so. You guys have been targeting me because all the neighbors complain, and I'm not doing anything. I don't know. Whatever. Write me a ticket for my insurance. I don't know. I
Can you log into it? Or no?
I don't know. I don't know how. I have no idea how to do it.
But it's AAA?
Yep.
Okay. Well, just do me a favor. Just hang tight till I'm done, okay?
Yep.
She was hauling. What's that?
I have my food inside.
Oh, hold on. You can't go inside yet. It's a traffic stop.
I'm at my house.
I understand that, but it's a traffic stop. You have to hang tight.
No, I gotta put my food in the car.
If you go in the house, I will arrest you for obstruction.
For what?
Obstruction. Resisting without.
No.
You are not free to leave. If you go in the house, understand.
Harassing me. You are.
If you go in the house, I'm just telling you. If you go in the house, that's obstruction. So just hang tight for a couple minutes. That's all I'm asking.
Deputy Aiken informs Dr. Coker that if she leaves the traffic stop and enters her home, he will arrest her for obstruction, or so-called resisting without. According to Section 843.02 of the Florida statutes, quote, whoever shall resist, obstruct, or oppose any officer in the lawful execution of any legal duty without offering or doing violence to the person of the officer shall be guilty of a misdemeanor of the first degree. Courts have consistently held that individuals can be arrested under this statute for refusing to comply with an officer's lawful commands. In the 2008 case of Badimski versus City of Melbourne, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals held that an individual could be arrested for resisting and obstructing an officer's efforts to detain him during a lawful Terry stop by attempting to leave the scene. Similarly, the 11th Circuit concluded in the 2007 case of Zivojinovic versus
it all
Farmer
makes
that
sense,
the officers in the case had probable cause to arrest an individual for resisting when he, quote, disobeyed a command by members of law enforcement while they were escorting him from a property from which he was being trespassed. And in the unpublished 2017 case of Ryder versus Andrews determined that, quote, the refusal to comply with an officer's request during the lawful execution of a legal duty may constitute resisting without violence. Additionally, Section 316.072 of the Florida statute states that, quote, it is unlawful and a misdemeanor of the second degree for any person willfully to fail or refuse to comply with any lawful order or direction of any law enforcement officer. The standard jury instructions for this offense state that to prove the crime of failure to obey the lawful order of a law enforcement officer, the government must prove 5 elements beyond a reasonable doubt: that the defendant was operating a vehicle, that the officer gave a lawful order or direction to the defendant regarding the operation of a vehicle, that the officer was acting in their capacity as a law enforcement officer, that the defendant knew that they had been given an order by a law enforcement officer, and that the defendant willfully failed to obey or willfully refused to comply with the order given. Well, the jury instructions state that the lawful order must have been made, quote, regarding the operation of a vehicle. In the 2020 case of United States versus Wilson, the 11th Circuit concluded that an officer had probable cause to arrest an individual for violating this statute when he repeatedly refused to produce his driver's license during a legal traffic stop. Given the existing precedent for both the resisting and the failure to obey statutes, it is likely that if a court concluded that Deputy Aiken's initial traffic stop was legal, it would also determine that Dr. Coker could be arrested under either statute for refusing to comply with Deputy Aiken's orders to remain outside.
If you go in a house, understand that's obstruction.
Shut up!
Okay. Hello,
Hey,
sir.
man, how's it going?
Not bad, yourself?
Good, good. I'm Eddie Coker.
Deputy Aiken, how you doing?
Hey, man. Yeah, I work for HCSO.
Okay.
So I'm trying to... What happened?
You ran the stop sign.
Constantly call on me. I did not run the stop sign.
Do you have something showing her running the stop sign, or?
I saw it.
You saw it?
I saw it.
He didn't see it.
Dr. Coker's husband, Dwayne Eddie Coker, who was a detention deputy with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office at the time, asks Deputy Aiken what happened, and Deputy Aiken informs him that he saw Dr. Coker run a stop sign. Under Section 316.123 of the Florida statutes, quote, every driver of a vehicle approaching a stop intersection indicated by a stop sign shall stop at a clearly marked stop line, and it is a so-called non-criminal traffic infraction to violate this statute.
Right, it would
The
have been a
law is
citation.
clear that an officer's visual observation of an offense is sufficient to establish probable cause for a traffic stop. As the 11th Circuit explained in the 2018 case of Manners versus Canella, quote, probable cause does not require convincing proof that the offense was committed. It does not require proof beyond a reasonable doubt or even by a preponderance of the evidence. Probable cause requires only a probability or substantial chance of criminal activity, not an actual showing of such activity. Even though probable cause is a relatively low bar, the Supreme Court established in the 1996 case of Wren versus United States that, quote, as a general matter, the decision to stop an automobile is reasonable where the police have probable cause to believe that a traffic violation has occurred. Relying on this decision, as well as other precedents, the 11th Circuit held in the 2021 case of United States versus Brown that, quote, the probable cause standard is met when an officer personally observes a traffic infraction. Additionally, testimony regarding an officer's visual observation of a traffic offense is, in most cases, legally sufficient to sustain a conviction, particularly in situations that involve violations such as failing to stop at a red light or stop sign or not activating a turn signal. However, Section 318.14 of the Florida statutes requires the government to prove non-criminal traffic infractions beyond a reasonable doubt, and the defendant must be given the opportunity to challenge the officer's credibility and explain their own side of the story in court. Ultimately, as the Third District Court of Appeal of Florida explained in the 2010 case of Winkler versus Lawyers Title Insurance Corporation, quote, it is for the trial court to evaluate and weigh the credibility of witness testimony and other evidence adduced at trial. In this situation, it is likely that Deputy Aiken's testimony would be legally sufficient to prove that Dr. Coker ran the stop sign. However, it is also possible that a court could ultimately believe Dr. Coker's story over Deputy Aiken's, or that there was at least reasonable doubt as to whether she ran the stop sign after hearing testimony or reviewing other evidence presented in court.
I'm sure you know since you're a deputy. Yeah. I saw it. I'm telling you, I saw it. Right. So that's probable cause for me to conduct a traffic stop, which is what I'm doing.
Relax. If your husband is a goddamn cop, let him handle this situation. You went and got him for a fucking reason. Like, you've already put yourself in a situation to be arrested. Like, shut the fuck up.
No, it's harassment.
Well, as you can see, that's probable cause to do the stop.
Absolutely.
If she wants to take it to court, if she can take it to court, that's up to her.
Is there any way you can give me a one-time professional courtesy if I show you my ID?
I have to. We've been getting complaints in Seven Oaks in general. Because of that, we're enforcing everything.
Okay. Well, I'll be sure to let my agency know that if we stop one of you guys, make sure you issue the ticket.
That's on you.
All right, man.
Mr. Coker insinuates that he is a deputy of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office when he is actually a detention center deputy with no policing authority. Mr. Coker then goes on to inform Deputy Aiken that if he insists on writing Dr. Coker a ticket, he will instruct his department to ticket Pasco County officers whenever they can, instead of extending them a professional courtesy. According to a job posting on the Hillsborough County Sheriff's website, a detention deputy's job duties include providing, quote, direct and remote supervision of inmates within housing and other areas of a jail, courthouse complex, or secure perimeter as assigned to maintain a safe and secure environment, and other similar duties related to the supervision of detention center inmates. Detention deputies are not assigned patrol vehicles, and they do not...
How do you come out on some bullshit knowing your ass ain't a real cop? You just a goddamn... You are basically a security guard. You are a security guard. Come
traffic
on, bro.
stops or issue tickets
one.
under any circumstances, despite Mr. Coker's implication that he is involved in these activities. Additionally, even though Mr. Coker held himself out as a police officer, Mr. Coker was not a certified law enforcement officer and only held a state correctional officer certification. While law enforcement officers are required to complete training at a Florida law enforcement academy, which requires 770 hours of instruction, correctional officers are only required to complete a correctional basic recruit training program, which requires just 420 hours of instruction. Additionally, while law enforcement officers have a general power of arrest, with Section 901.15 of the Florida statutes, for example, identifying many situations where law enforcement officers may conduct warrantless arrests, correctional officers have very limited power to make arrests. While Section 843.04 of the Florida statutes requires correctional officers to arrest escaped convicts, and Section 944.39 authorizes them to arrest without warrant, quote, any person who interferes with or in any way interrupts the work of any prisoner or who in any way interferes with the discipline or good conduct of any prisoner, correctional officers are generally not authorized to make arrests, even if they personally witness an offense for which a regular citizen could not legally make a citizen's arrest. Although Mr. Coker never explicitly told Deputy Aiken that he was a law enforcement officer, he implied as much. And based on the comments he made to Mr. Coker, Deputy Aiken clearly believed that he was a deputy sheriff and not a detention deputy. Mr. Coker did nothing to correct Deputy Aiken's understanding and undeniably pretended to have more legal authority than his certification as a correctional officer actually gave him.
All right, go ahead and write us the ticket. I assume you have her on video running the stop sign. So when we go to court...
I saw it, but she can take it to court. That's fine. So at this point, I mean, she can give her case, I'll give my case.
Okay.
Just give me a couple minutes. Just do me a favor and hang out over there for me.
Sure.
Can I get your name and number and your card?
I will do that once I'm done.
Please hurry.
Wait until I'm done. I'm almost done. Okay.
He's just kowtowing to all these that live on the street that complain about me.
Okay.
Because he got nothing better to do.
For that one, once you prove that you have insurance, I'm sure that you do. But,
I do. I don't know. I
got my insurance card in the Jeep.
Can you go get it?
Yeah.
Well, it's too late now.
I mean, I already pulled the number, but it's still, all she has to do is show that she has it.
Let's
She
get
didn't
moving
have
on this,
it.
please. Let's move along,
For the
please.
stop sign, then you have, I've explained the three options. One, pay the ticket.
No.
Two,
No.
take the course,
No.
in which case you wouldn't get points. Or
No.
three, take it to court.
No, go to court.
You have to make the choice within 30 days for
I've
which
already
one you
made my
choose.
choice. Thank you.
But you,
Okay.
can I finish?
No, I'm done. Come on.
Relax.
And it's because these on the street keep complaining because they have nothing better to
Well, I'm
do.
just going to say it all. If you want to interrupt me, that's on you. This one, which is the insurance, which I'm assuming you're just going to show your proof, that's 114. This one for the stop sign.
What? What the hell?
The stop sign is 164. Any questions for me?
No. Please, let me go.
Good to go.
After Deputy Aiken issued the citations to Dr. Coker, Mr. Coker once again asked Deputy Aiken for a professional courtesy. During this conversation, Dr. Coker left and went inside her home, shouting a racial slur at Deputy Aiken as she walked away. Deputy Aiken once again defended his decision to issue the citations, and after providing Mr. Coker with contact information for his supervisor, Deputy Aiken drove away without further incident. Mr. Coker immediately contacted a supervisor to complain about the encounter with Deputy Aiken, and in that conversation, he explicitly referred to himself as a quote-unquote cop. This entire conversation is included in the original video on Real World Police's channel, as well as 2 hours of additional related footage. And I highly recommend watching the entire video if you're interested in learning more about this incident and the Cokers themselves. Ultimately, after fighting the charges, Dr. Coker was acquitted of running the stop sign, and the other citations were dismissed. However, on October 8th, 2018, as a result of his actions during this encounter and a subsequent internal affairs investigation, Mr. Coker sustained administrative charges of misdirected action in an official investigation, misuse of communications facilities, improper use of official position, and conduct unbecoming a member of the sheriff's office. And on January 30th, 2020, the Florida Criminal Justice Standards and Training Commission, which is responsible for the certification of law enforcement and correctional officers in the state, voted to revoke Mr. Coker's correctional officer certification for, quote, misuse of public position. Overall, Deputy Aiken gets an A+ for demonstrating a calm and professional demeanor in the face of both unbelievably rude and offensive behavior from Dr. Coker and unethical requests for favoritism from Mr. Coker. Deputy Aiken maintained his composure despite Dr. Coker's repeated attacks on his character and constant demands that he hurry up and let her go. And he even continued to perform professionally after she called him a racial epithet that some courts have held to be a so-called fighting word that is not protected by the First Amendment. I strongly commend Deputy Aiken for having the patience and professionalism to show Dr. Coker respect when she showed him none, as well as the integrity to reject Mr. Coker's repeated request for a professional courtesy. And I truly hope that other law enforcement officers will learn from his example. Dr. Coker gets an F for engaging in belligerent, confrontational, and extremely disrespectful conduct throughout the encounter, and attacking Deputy Aiken with deplorable racist language. Mr. Coker also gets an F for falsely holding himself out as a police officer and attempting to misuse his position as an employee of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office to threaten and manipulate Deputy Aiken into not issuing his wife a ticket. While there is much more I could say about this couple's behavior, I believe that their actions speak for themselves. And if a grade lower than an F existed, I would certainly assign it to the Cokers for their conduct before, during, and after this encounter. Let us know if there is an interaction or legal topic you would like us to discuss.
Yeah, that's wild. That's what he gets. I mean, that's just that, like, hey, ain't nothing left to be said about that. He got an F for fired, and that's what he deserved. So that's all there is to it. Let me know what y'all thought about that down in the comments below. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace.